Kia ora whānau. So today is day 3 of my 25-day challenge to bring awareness to mental health. I'm sitting at the Hamilton Lake here at the moment. I've just finished a Zumba class, and so I thought that I would come down here and just get some peace and quiet, just be by the water for a bit, and just sort of reflect on this journey through putting these videos up, and and try and contemplate what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. And so thankfully it didn't take me too long, so it popped into my head shortly after I arrived here, so I thought I'd quickly chuck a video up before it leaves my head, or it leaves my brain space. So what I want to talk to you about today is surrounding yourself with the right people. So for me, a huge part of my depression was withdrawing myself from life, from people, from society, from me, pretty much. And I've mentioned it in previous videos, but that was a super lonely time for me. And I sort of have been sitting here thinking to myself why I did that. And I've sort of come up with the conclusion that it wasn't that I felt alone necessarily, although that was a part of it. It felt to me like there are people out there who were suffering from this disease much worse than I have. And to be honest, I felt a little bit embarrassed about even speaking up and saying that I suffered from depression. It's almost sometimes for me that I can be a little bit bipolar. Like I can be super high at one moment, and then the very next moment I'm so down that I can't pull myself out of it. And that's not something that happens regularly these days. In fact, it's quite spread apart. But in the earlier stages of my depression, I could go weeks or months with being in a super sad state, and it was a really lonely time for me. And so what I would do is I would withdraw myself from people, and I would sit there in my sadness, and I would make up these things in my head, and I'd tell myself these things that had no essence to it, had no substance to it, but for me it was my world at the time, it was my reality at the time, and it was really hard for me to pull myself out of that. And on the couple occasions that I did try to explain it to somebody that weren't professionals, I always felt judged. Like I would get, oh, you're all right, you'll get over it, the old good old take the old harden up pill. That's the worst thing. I haven't said that to anyone in years and years, purely because that's what was said to me, and that's the worst thing that could have been said to me at that time. So, and it's not easy. It's not easy to pull yourself out of that dungeon, out of that dark, dreary, cold dungeon, and put yourself back into society. It's not easy, and I still struggle with that these days. But it takes me much less time to recover than what it used to. So my suggestion, or what worked for me, is I would take small steps. So I would pull myself out of the room, and I would sit in a room with people. I wouldn't talk to them. I wouldn't communicate with them in any way. For me, it was just a matter of being there and allowing myself to feel safe in that space. So like feeling and knowing that I wasn't being judged or anything, that was a huge thing for me to overcome. And it's not a matter of someone telling you that you're not being judged or you're not being, made an example of. You have to come to that decision yourself. And so I would start with that small step, and then I would start with going out to places where there are more people. Again, not communicating with anyone, just being in that space with other people. And then from there, I would start up a random conversation with a person, with the intent of bringing up what I was going through, but not always fully getting to that point. And over the years, I've learnt that being with people who are positive and who are motivated, who are inspirational, is enough for me to just be able to go and be in their presence and get enough energy and enough of a pick me up from that group, to be able to continue and pull myself out of that dungeon and make myself feel part of the world again. So I really think that that's a really important thing, to surround yourself with people like that, especially when it is so easy for people, not everyone, but for myself, it was so easy to put myself in that place. To be able to recognize the signs so that I can pull myself out easier and faster, is a huge thing, and still is an ongoing thing for me today. So I just wanted to share that with you. That's a really important thing, I feel, is to surround yourself with positive people. Take what you need from that energy or from that situation, enough so that you have the energy and you have the courage to pull yourself out of whatever situation you may find yourself in. And that's not just for people with depression, but that's for anyone going through anything at any time of their lives. So I hope that helps anyone who may be watching this video. It still helps me to this day. Even though I'm sitting down here at the lake by myself at the moment. It's not because I'm in a depressive state, it's just that I like to have some me time when I need it, and that's really important too, is to have some me time. So I'll leave you with that, whānau. Just remember that it's okay not to be okay. There's a lot of us going through it, and we are normal, everyday people. We're not people who have these big highlighter signs at the top of our heads that say, I'm sad, or I am going through depression. We're not those kind of people. We're normal, everyday people who can be the top of our world, top of our game at 1 minute, and then at the very bottom of it the next. So you're not alone, whānau, not at all. So as always, as I've mentioned before, if you need to have a kōrero, feel free to contact me. I've got a good taringa. I've got two even. But yeah, I'll leave that with you. Have a safe weekend. See you next week.